Sai Satcharitra, Chapter 3. Sai Baba's sanction and promise, assignment of work to devotees, Baba's stories as beacon light, his motherly love, Rohila story, his sweet and nectar like words. Sai Baba's sanction and promise. As described in the previous chapter, Sai Baba gave his complete assent to the writing of the Satcharitra and said, I fully agree with you regarding the writing of the Charitra. You do your duty. Don't be afraid in the least. Steady your mind and have faith in my words. If my Leelas are written, the avidya, nescience, will vanish, and if they are attentively and devoutly listened to, the consciousness of worldly existence will abate, and strong waves of devotion and love will rise up. And if one dives deep into my Leelas, he would get precious jewels of knowledge. Hearing this, Otho was much pleased, and he at once became fearless and confident, and thought that work was bound to be a success. Then turning to Shyama, Sai Baba said, If a man utters my name with love, I shall fulfill all his wishes, increase his devotion, and if he sings earnestly my life and my deeds, I shall beset him in front and back and on all sides. Those devotees who are attached to me, heart and soul, will naturally feel happiness when they hear these stories. Believe me that if anybody sings my Leelas, I will give him infinite joy and everlasting contentment. It is my special characteristic to free any person who surrenders completely to me and who does worship me faithfully, who remembers me and meditates on me constantly. How can they be conscious of worldly objects and sensations who utter my name, who worship me, who think of my stories and my life, and who always remember me? I shall draw out my devotees from the jaws of death. If my stories are listened to, all the diseases will be got rid of. So hear my stories with respect. Think and meditate on them, assimilate them. This is the way of happiness and contentment. The pride and egoism of my devotees will vanish. The mind of the hearer will be set at peace, and if it has wholehearted and complete faith, it will be one with supreme consciousness. The simple remembrance of my name, Sai Sai, will do away with sins of speech and hearing. Different works assigned to devotees. The Lord entrusts different works to different devotees. Some are given the works of building temples and mats or ghats on rivers. Some are made to sing the glories of God. Some are sent on pilgrimages, but to me was allotted the work of writing the Sai Satcharit. Being a jack of all trades but master of none, I was quite unqualified for this job. Then why should I undertake such a difficult job? Who can describe the true life of Sai Baba? Sai Baba's grace alone can enable one to accomplish this difficult task. So when I took up the pen in my hand, Sai Baba took away my egoism and wrote himself his stories. The credit of relating these stories therefore goes to him and not to me. Though Brahmin by birth, I lacked the two eyes of Shruti and Smriti and was not at all capable of writing the Satcharita. But the grace of the Lord makes a dumb man speak, enables a lame man to cross a mountain. He alone knows the knack of getting things done as he likes. Neither the flute nor the harmonium knows how the sounds are produced. This is the concern of the player. The oozing of Chandrakant jewel and the surging of the sea are not due to the jewel and the sea, but to the rise of the moon. Baba's stories as beacon lights. Lighthouses are constructed at places in the sea to enable the boatmen to avoid rocks and dangers and make them sail safely. Baba's stories serve a similar purpose in the ocean of worldly existence. They surpass nectars in sweetness and make our worldly life smooth and easy to traverse. Blessed are the stories of the saints when they enter our hearts. Through the years, the body consciousness or egoism and the sense of duality vanish, and when they are stored in the heart, doubts fly out to all sides. pride of the body will fall, and wisdom will be stored in abundance. The description of Baba's pure fame and the hearing of the same with love will destroy the sins of the devotees, and therefore this is the simple sadhana for attaining salvation. The sadhana for Krita Yuga was Shamadama, tranquility of mind and body. For Treta, sacrifice. For Dwapar, worship. For Kali age, it is singing of the name and glory of the Lord. The last sadhana is open to all people of the four varnas. The other sadhanas, yoga, yagya, dhyana, and dharana, are very difficult to practice, but singing and hearing the stories and glory of the Lord is very easy. We have only to turn our attention to them. The listening and singing of the stories will remove the attachment to the senses and their objects and will make the devotees dispassionate and will ultimately lead them to realization. With this end in view, Sai Baba made me or helped me to write his story, Sai Charitamrita. The devotees may now easily hear and read these stories of Baba and while do so meditate on him, his form, and attain devotion to Guru and God, get detachment and self-realization. In the preparation and writing of this book, Sai Charitamrita, it is Sai Baba's grace which has accomplished everything, making use of me as a mere instrument. Motherly love of Baba. Everybody knows how a cow loves her infant calf. Her udder is always full, and when the calf wants milk and dashes at the udder, out comes the milk in an unceasing flow. Similarly, a human mother knows the wants of her child and feeds it at her breast in time. In case of dressing and adorning the child, the mother takes particular care to see that it is well done. The child knows or cares nothing about it, but the mother's joy knows no bound. When she sees her child beautifully dressed and adorned, the love of mother is peculiar, extraordinary, and disinterested, and has no parallel. Sadhguru feels this motherly love towards the disciples. Baba had the same love towards me, and I give an instance of it below. In 1916, I retired from government service. Pension that was settled in my case was not sufficient to maintain my family. On Guru Purnima, day of that year, I went to Shirdi with other devotees. Mr. Anna Chanchikar, of his own accord, prayed to Baba for me as follows: Please look kindly of him. The pension he gets is quite insufficient. His family is growing. Give him some other appointment. Remove his anxiety and make him happy. Baba replied, He will get some other job, but now he should serve me and be happy. His dishes will be ever full and be never empty. He should turn all his attention towards me and avoid the company of atheists, irreligious, and wicked people. He should be meek and humble towards all and worship me, heart and soul. If he does, he will get happiness. The question, who is this he whose worship is advocated, is already answered in a note. Who is Sai Baba in the prologue at the beginning of this work? Rohila story. The story of the Rohila illustrates Sai Baba's all embracing love. Once, Rohila, tall and well built, strong as a bull, came to Shirdi wearing a long kafni and was enamored of Sai, who stayed there. Day and night, he used to recite in a loud and harsh tone, Kalma, and shout, Allahu Akbar. Most people of Shirdi were working in their fields by day, and when they returned to their homes at night, they were welcomed with the Rohila's harsh cries and shouts. They could get no sleep and felt much trouble and inconvenience. They suffered in silence this nuisance for some days, and when they could stand it no longer, they approached Baba and requested him to check the Rohila and stop the nuisance. Baba did not attend to their complaint. On the contrary, Baba took the villagers to task and asked them to mind their own business and not the Rohila. He said to them, Rohila had got a very bad wife, a Zantippi, who tried to come in and trouble the Rohila and himself. But hearing the Rohila's prayers, she dare not enter, and they were at peace and happy. In fact, Rohila had no wife, and by his wife, Baba meant Durbuddhi, that is, bad thoughts, as Baba liked prayers and cries to God better than anything else. He took the side of the Rohila and asked the villagers to wait and suffer the nuisance, which would abate in due course. Baba's sweet and nectar like words. One day at noon after the Aarti, devotees were returning to their lodgings when Baba gave the beautiful advice: Beware wherever you like, do whatever you choose. Remember this well, that all what you do is known to me. I am the inner ruler of all, and seated in their hearts, I honor up all the creatures, the movable and immovable world. I am the controller, the wire puller of the show of the universe. I am the mother, origin of all beings, the harmony of three gunas, the propeller of all senses, the creator, preserver, and destroyer. Nothing will harm him who turns his attention towards me, but Maya will lash or whip him who forgets me. All the insects, ants, invisible, movable, and immovable world is my body or form. Hearing these beautiful and precious words, I at once decided in my mind to serve no man henceforth but my Guru himself. But the reply of Baba to Anna Chincharkar's query, which was really mine, that I would get some job began to resolve in my mind, and I began to think whether it would come to happen. As future event shows, Baba's words did come true, and I got a government job, but that was of a very short duration. After that, I became free and solely devoted to myself to the service of my Guru Sai Baba. Before concluding this chapter, I request the readers to leave out the various hindrance, indolence, sleep, wandering of mind, attachment to senses, and turn their whole and undivided attention to these stories of Baba. Let their love be natural. Let them know the secret of devotion. Let them not exhaust themselves by other sadhanas. Let them stick to this one simple remedy, that is listening to Baba's stories. This will destroy their ignorance and will secure them salvation. A miser may stay at various places, but he always thinks of his buried treasure. So let Sai Baba be enthroned in the hearts of all. In the next chapter, I shall speak of Sai Baba's advent in Shirdi. Bow to Sri Sai. Peace be to all. Chapter 4, Sai Baba's First Advent in Shirdi. Mission of the Saints, Shirdi, a holy Tirth. Personality of Sai Baba, dictum of Goli Buva. Appearance of Vitthal Ka Shigra story, Das Kanu's bath in Prayag, Immaculate Conception of Sai Baba, and his first advent in Shirdi, three Varas. In the last chapter, I described the circumstances which led me to write such charita. Let me now describe the first advent of Sri Baba in Shirdi. Mission of Saints. Lord Krishna says in Bhagavatam, whenever there is a decay of dharma and an ascendancy of unrighteousness, I manifest myself, and for the protection of the virtuous, the destruction of the vicious, and for the establishment of righteousness, I manifest myself in age after age. This is the mission of God, the sages and saints who are his representatives and who appear here at proper times help in their own way to fulfill that mission. For instance, when the twice born Brahmins, the Kshatriyas, and the Vaishyas neglect their duty, when the Shudras try to usurp the rights of the higher classes, when spiritual preceptors are not respected but humiliated, when nobody cares for religious instructions, when everybody thinks himself very learned, when people begin to partake of forbidden food and intoxicating drink, when under the cloak of religion people indulge in moral practices, when people belonging to different sects fight among themselves, when Brahmins fail to do Sandhya adoration, the orthodox their religious practices, when yogis neglect their meditation, when people begin to think that well progeny wife are their whole sole concern and turn away from the true path of salvation, then saints appear and try to set matters right by their words and action. They serve us as beacon lights and show us the right path and the right way for us to follow. In this way, many saints like Nivritri, Jnanadev, Muktabai, Namdev, Gora, Gonai, Eknath, Tukaram, Narahari, Narsi Bhai, Sajan Kasai, Savata, Ramdas, and others did appear at various times to show the right path to people. So, Sir presently came Sri Baba of Shirdi. Shirdi, a holy teeth. The banks of the Godavari River in the Ahmedabad district are very fortunate, for they gave birth and refuge to many a saint, prominent among them being Jnaneshwar. Shirdi also falls in the Kopargaon taluka of the Ahmednagar district. After crossing the Godavari River at Kopargaon, one gets the way to Shirdi. When you go 3 miles, you come to Neemgaon, from whence Shirdi is visible. Shirdi is as famous and well known as other holy places like Gangapur, Narsinvari, or Dumbar on the banks of Krishna River. As the devotees Damaji flourished in and blessed Mangal Veda near Pandharpur, as Samarth Ramdas at Sajjangarh, as Sri Narsimha Saraswati at Saraswati Wadi, so Sainath flourished at Shirdi and blessed it. Personality of Sai. It is on account of Sai Baba that Shirdi grew into importance. Let us see what sort of personage Sai was. He considered this sansar, which is very difficult and hard to cross. Peace or mental calm was his ornament, and he was the repository of wisdom. He was the home of Vaishnav devotees, most liberal among liberals, the quintessence of all essences. He had no love for perishable things. He was always engrossed in realization, which was his concern. He felt no pleasure in the things of this world or of the world beyond. His heart was as clear as his mirror, and his speech always rained nectar. The rich or poor were the same to him. He did not care or for honor or dishonor. He was the lord of all beings. He spoke freely and mixed with all people, saw the actings and dances of nautch girls and heard ghazal songs. Still he swerved not an inch from samadhi. The name of Allah was always on his lips. While the world awoke, he slept. While the world slept, he was vigilant. His abdomen was as calm as the deep sea. His ashram could not be determined, nor his actions could be definitely determined. Though he lived in one place, he knew all the transactions of the world. His darbar was imposing. He told daily hundreds of stories, till he stirred not an inch from his vow of silence. He always leaned against the wall of the masjid or walked morning and evening towards Lindi and Chavri. Still he at all times abided in the self. Though a Siddha, he acted like a sadhak. He was meek, humble, egoless, and pleased all. Such was Sai Baba, and Sai Baba's feet treated the soil of Shirdi attained extraordinary importance as Jnaneshwar elevated Alandi, Eknath did to Paithan, so Sai Baba did to Shirdi. Blessed are the grass leaves and stones of Shirdi, for they could easily kiss the holy feet of Sai Baba and take their dust in their hands. Shirdi came to us, devotees, another Pandharpur, Jagannath, Dwarka, Banaras, and Rameshwar. Badri Kedar, Nasik, Trimbakeshwar, Ujjain, and Mahakaleshwar of Mahabaleshwar, Gokarn. Contact of Sai Baba and Shirdi was like our Veda and Tantra. It quietened our samsara and rendered self-realization. The darshan of Sri Sai was a yoga sadhana, and talk with him removed our sins. Shampooing his legs was our bath in Triveni Prayag, and drinking the holy water of his feet destroyed our desires. To us, his commands were Vedas, and eating his udi and prasad was all purifying. He was our Krishna and Sri Ram who gave us solace, and he was our Para Brahma. He was himself beyond the pair of opposites, never dejected nor elated. He was always engrossed in his self as existence, knowledge, and bliss. Shirdi was his center, but his field of action extended far wide to Punjab, Kolkata, North India, Gujarat, Dhaka, and Konkan. Thus, the fame of Sai Baba spread far and wide. People from all parts came to take his darshan and be blessed. By mere darshan, minds of people, whether pure or impure, would become quiet. They got here the same sort of unparalleled joy the devotees get at Pandharpur by seeing Vitthal and Rukmani. This is not an exaggeration. Consider what a devotee sees in this respect. Dictum of Goli Bova. An old devotee by name Goli Bova, aged 95, was a worker of Pandhari. He stayed 8 months at Pandharpur and 4 months Ashadha to Kartik on the banks of the Ganges. He had an ass with him for carrying his luggage and a disciple as his companion. Every year he made his wadi or trip to Pandharpur and came to Shirdi, whom he loved most. He used to stare at Baba and say, "This is Pandharinath Vitthal incarnate, the merciful Lord of the poor and helpless." This Goli Buva was an old devotee of Vithoba and had many times a trip to Pandhari, and he testified that Sai was the real Pandharinath. Vitthal himself appeared. Baba was very fond of remembering and singing God's name. He always uttered Allah Malik, and in his presence made others sing God's name continuously day and night for 7 days. This is called Nam Saptaha. Once he asked Das Kanu to do the Nam Saptaha. He replied he would do it provided he was assured that Vitthal would appear at the end of the seventh day. Then Baba, placing his hand on his breast, assured him that Vitthal would appear, but that the devotee must be earnest and devout. The Thakur of Thakurnath, the Pandhari of Vitthal, the Dwarka of Ranchor, Krishna is here, Shirdi. One need not go far out to see Dwarka. Will Vitthal come here from outside place? He is here. Only when the devotee is bursting with love and devotee, Vitthal will manifest himself in Shirdi. After the Saptaha was over, Vitthal did manifest itself in the following manner. Kaka Sahib Dikshit was as usual sitting in meditation after the bath, and he saw Vitthal in a vision. When he went at noon for Baba's darshan, Baba asked him, "Did Vitthal Patil come? Did you see him? He is a very truant fellow. Catch him firmly, otherwise he will escape if you be a little inattentive." This happened in the morning, and at noon there was another Vitthal darshan. One hawker from outside came selling 20 or 30 pictures of Vithoba. This picture exactly tallied with the figure that appeared in Kaka Sahib's vision. On seeing this and remembering Baba's words, Kaka Sahib Dikshit was much surprised and delighted. He bought one picture of Vithoba and placed it in his shrine for worship. Bhagwantrao Sri Sagar story. How fond was Baba for Vittal worship was illustrated in Bhagwantrao Srigar's story. The father of Bhagwantrao was a devotee of Vittal and used to make varis to Pandharpur. He also had an image of Vithoba at home which he worshipped. After his death, the son stopped everything, the vari, the worship, Shraddh ceremony, everything. When Bhagwant Rao came to Shirdi, Baba, on remembering his father, at once said, "His father was my friend, so I dragged him here. He never offered Naivedya, and so he starved Vitthal and me. So I brought him here. I shall remonstrate him now and set him to worship." Das Kanu's bath in Prayag. The Hindus think that a bath in the holy Tirth in Prayag, where the Ganga and Yamuna meet, is very meritorious, and thousands of pilgrims go there at periodic times to have the sacred bath. Once Das Kanu thought that he should go to Prayag for a bath and came to Baba to get his permission for doing so. Baba replied, "It is not necessary to go so long. Our Prayag is here. Believe me." Then Wanderer of Wonders, when Das Kanu placed his head on Baba's feet, out came streams of Ganga Yamuna from both the toes of Baba. Seeing this miracle, Das Kanu was overwhelmed with feeling of love and adoration and was full of tears. He felt inspired, and his speech burst forth into song in praise of Baba and his Leelas, Immaculate Conception of Sai Baba, and his first advent in Shirdi. Nobody knew the parents' birth or birthplace of Baba. Many inquiries were made, many questions were put to Baba and others regarding these, but no satisfactory answer has yet been obtained. Practically, we know nothing about these matters. Namdev and Kabir were not born like ordinary mortals. They were found as infants in mother of pearls. Namdev being found on the bank of Bhimrati river by Gonai and Kabir on the bank of Bhagirathi river by Tamal. Similarly was the case with Baba. He first manifested himself as a young lad of 16 under a neem tree in Shirdi for the sake of bhaktas. Even then he seemed to be full with the knowledge of Brahman. He had no desire for worldly objects even in dream. He kicked out Maya and Mukti was serving at his feet. One old woman of Shirdi, the mother of Nana Chopthar, described him thus: "This young lad, fair, smart, and very handsome, was first seen under the neem tree, seated in an asan. The people of the village were wonderstruck to see such a young lad practicing hard penance, not minding heat and cold. By day he associated with none, by night he was afraid of nobody. People were wondering and asking whence this young chap turned up. His form and features were so beautiful that a mere look endeared him to all. He went to nobody's door, always sat near the neem tree. Outwardly he looked very young, but by his action he was a great soul. He was the embodiment of dispassion and was an enigma to all. One day it so happened that Lord Khandoba possessed the body of some devotee, and people began to ask him, "Deva, could you please inquire what blessed father's son is this lad, and whence did he come?" God Khandoba asked them to bring a pickaxe and dig in a particular place. When it was dug, bricks was found under the flat stone. When the stone was removed, a corridor led to a cellar where cow-mouth structures, wooden board, and necklaces were seen. Khandoba said, "This lad practiced penance here for 12 years." Then the people began to question the lad about this. He put them off the scent by telling them that it was his guru's place, this holy Vatan, and requested them to guard it well. People then closed the corridor as before. As Ashwatha and Audumber trees are held sacred, Baba regarded this neem tree equally sacred and loved it most. Mahalsapati and other Shirdi devotees regarded this san as the Samadhi Sthan of Baba's Guru and prostrated before it. Three Vadas. The site with the neem tree and surrounding space was bought by Mr. Hari Vinayak Sathe, and on this site a building style Sathe's Vada was erected. This Vada was the resting place for pilgrims who flocked there. A platform was built round the neem tree and lofts with steps were constructed. Under the step, there is a niche facing south, and devotees sit on the platform facing north. It is believed that he who burns incense there on Thursday and Friday evening, by God's grace, be happy. This vara was old and dilapidated and wanted repair. Sansthan has made the necessary repair, additions, and alterations now. After some years, another vara, Dikshit's vara, was constructed. Kaka Saheb Dikshit, solicitor of Bombay, had gone to England. He had injured his leg by an accident. The injury could not be get rid of by any means. Chandorkar Nana Sahib advised him to try Sai Baba. So he saw Sai Baba and requested him to cure rather the lameness of his mind than the lameness of his leg. He was so much pleased with the darshan of Sai Baba that he decided to reside in Shirdi. So he built a vada for himself and other devotees. Foundation of this building was laid on 10/12/1910. On this day, two other important events took place. Mr. Dada Saheb Kharpade was given permission to return home, and the night aarti in Chavri was commenced. The Vada was complete and was inhabited on the Ram Navami day in 1911 with due rites and formalities. Another Vada or palatial mansion was put up by the famous millionaire Mr. Booty. Lots of money was spent on this building, but the entire money was utilized as Baba's body is resting in this vara, which is now called the Samadhi Mandir. The site of this mandir had formerly a garden which was watered and looked after by Baba. Three varas thus sprang up where there was none formerly. Of these, Sathe's varas was most useful to all in the early days. Story of the garden, attended to by Sai Baba with the help of Vaman Tatya, the temporary absence of Sai Baba from Shirdi, and his coming back to Shirdi with the marriage party of Chand Patil, the company of Devi Das, Janki Das, Ganga Gir, Baba's wrestling match with Modin Tamboli, residence in Masjid, love of Mr. Dingale, and other devotees, and other incidents will be described in the next chapter. Bow to Shri Sai, peace be to all.